Estas personas afirmaban cosas sin conocer realmente su significado y sin darse cuenta, le estaban dando a Jordan Peterson exactamente las respuestas que necesitaba para dejar a todos boquiabiertos. Mira el video completo y dime qué opinas de esta persona y de sus propuestas sobre el uso de los celulares. Además, cuéntame qué piensas de esta joven que defendía una idea sin saber realmente lo que significaba. Empecemos.
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labor.
A very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. Terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy. It just means that terrible things happen to both genders, which they certainly do.
But there are almost no women who rape men, for example. So that is an asymmetry there in sexual violence.
Well, yes, there's an asymmetry in all sorts of places, but that doesn't mean that Western culture is a male-dominated patriarchy. The fact that there are asymmetries has nothing to do with your basic argument.
A veces se habla de los hombres ricos como si representaran a todos los hombres, pero la realidad es que son una minoría muy pequeña. La mayoría trabaja, se esfuerza y enfrenta dificultades económicas igual que cualquier otra persona. ¿Por qué no luchan por tener más mujeres en las minas o en las plataformas petrolíferas? Deja tu comentario.
Professor Peterson, let's begin with you. Why are you against the use of alternate pronouns?
I'm against the use of legislation to determine what words that myself and other people are required to utter.
But would you use alternate pronouns if a student asked you to?
I think I've made my position on that clear already.
Well, perhaps not to our audience at home who are just being introduced to this. Would you use alternate pronouns? And why not?
Because I don't believe that other people have the right to determine what language I use, especially when it's backed by punitive legislation. And when the words that are being required are the constructions, they're artificial constructions of people I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share.
Tratar a los demás con respeto es importante, pero cuando se intenta obligar a la gente a usar ciertas palabras, lo único que se consigue es generar rechazo. El respeto tiene más valor cuando nace de forma genuina, no cuando se impone. ¿Tú usarías pronombres inclusivos? Deja tu comentario.
Well, I'd like to encourage people struggling with this to be kind as their first impulse. You know, we call somebody what they want to be called in our society. That's just basic human courtesy. Here's a great little tip for people who are despairing at the possibility of remembering all those pronouns. What I do is just program in the pronoun next to the person's name in my smartphone. So whenever I'm out and about and I've forgotten whether one of my trans friends uses ze or zer or they or them or something else, I just look it up and it's really super easy. One thing I'd like you to really look at in regard to this controversy is to watch out for who's getting centered in a discussion. Political correctness is code that powerful people use when they're annoyed that they're actually not the center of attention in any given discussion. We should have people learning to listen more. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a very good reason. When things get political, I like to ask who benefits and who gets to decide the rules of the game. So, you know, mostly with this Peterson controversy, which is really just a small drama, a tempest in a teapot, you know, he could just get over learning to program a few pronouns into his phone. By the way, I only have half a dozen or so that I actually use on an everyday basis, so it's not all that difficult.
Professor Peterson, sorry, Professor Peterson, good jumping because I think Professor Peterson wants to get in on that.
Yeah, well, kindness is the excuse that social justice warriors use when they want to exercise control over what other people think and say. So, you know, if we're bandying back and forth our differences in values, you know, I would say that the highest possible value is truth, and that one of the concomitants is that we need stringent protection for freedom of speech so that we can utter the truths that we see fit. And I think that that's a value that's much higher than kindness, for example. I mean, there's lots of situations in life where kindness in the immediate present is not the appropriate way to react at all. So, for example, when you discipline children, you often hurt their feelings in the short term so that they can learn to behave properly in the medium to long term so that their lives go well. And so this automatic assumption that the people on the social justice warrior side of the equation are motivated only by kindness when they're also clearly motivated by power is something I find completely untenable. And I don't think that Pete's solution to program my cell phone so that I can remember what names people need to be called is a reasonable solution at all. We're actually supposed to now use electronic devices to bolster our ability to speak freely
How do
in
you
case
remember
we
names,
offend
Jordan?
someone.
Is it so difficult to remember a pronoun? You remember somebody's first name, you remember their telephone number. I mean, I think that it's
I don't
very,
remember
very
people's
true
first names
that-
very easily, and I don't remember their telephone numbers very easily. And when I see a stranger, I call them by the pronoun that seems to be in accordance with their presented appearance. And
That's you
they
being
appear that
lazy,
way.
Jordan.
Sinceramente, me parece una idea bastante poco práctica. La mayoría de las personas apenas logra recordar los nombres de todos los que conoce, así que esperar que además estén consultando el celular para recordar los pronombres de cada individuo no suena muy realista, y llamar perezoso a alguien por no querer hacerlo me parece una acusación exagerada.
I really want to know what you like, how you would describe toxic masculinity. Because
No, I want you to define what toxic masculinity constitutes. Since we're going to define things so carefully, let's do it.
well, I think
Okay, guys, sorry, but we really have to move on. So there will be more questions later on. There will be a lot of opportunity
No,
to
but
ask
maybe
questions.
let's if you. Okay, so let's define it shortly.
All right, shortly, please.
okay. I think that the moment when you kind of I have a hard time to kind of describe it in English. Let's say, that you kind of go over a boundary that kind of neglects the freedom of the opposite, well, gender or whatsoever. So that's toxic masculinity, and that you kind of have.
But
this,
that would also be toxic femininity.
Well, may I like finish my sentence?
Sure.
Please? Thank you. And then also, I lost my sentence now. But no, I will be back. I'm back. More in the sense that, yeah, can someone help me here in the audience?
Okay, so before we move on, let me point something out. You know that I was willing to undertake this line of discussion, allowing for the possibility that the category of toxic masculinity had some content, right? But if we're going to pursue that line of reasoning and quibble about the answer, then we're certainly going to quibble about the definition that's embedded in the question. And so part of what's happened in our discourse is that we're required ethically to assume a priori, merely out of politeness, that the utterance toxic masculinity actually constitutes a meaningful phrase. And if you push it, you find very rapidly that it doesn't, because it's very, very, very difficult to define, and definitions actually matter. And so if it's a matter of transgressing against the boundaries of gender-appropriate behavior, well, first of all, that indicates that there's something universal and normative about gender-appropriate behavior, which is something that people who push the idea of toxic masculinity generally tend not to presume. And second, it's just as likely to happen among women as among men, in which case it's not toxic masculinity. So maybe on to the next question.
Okay.
En muchas de estas discusiones se repite un patrón bastante claro. Se usan conceptos como si fueran obvios, pero cuando se intenta aterrizarlos en algo concreto, la explicación ya no es tan sólida. Por ejemplo, el tema de los pronombres. En la práctica, la mayoría de las personas ya tiene suficiente con recordar nombres, caras y contextos como para además esperar que estén consultando el celular cada vez que interactúan con alguien nuevo. Eso puede funcionar en ciertos entornos muy específicos, pero llevado a la vida cotidiana suena poco realista. Y en ese sentido, llamar perezoso a quien no quiere hacerlo no necesariamente explica el problema, solo lo etiqueta. También está la forma en que se habla de la riqueza. A veces se presenta a los hombres ricos como si fueran una categoría representativa, cuando en realidad son una fracción mínima dentro de un grupo enorme de personas que simplemente trabajan, se esfuerzan y viven con limitaciones económicas normales. Reducir todo a ese pequeño porcentaje distorsiona bastante la imagen general. Y luego está el uso de términos como masculinidad tóxica. Es un concepto que se repite mucho en debates actuales, pero el problema aparece cuando no hay una definición clara detrás. Si alguien afirma que existe como fenómeno social, lo mínimo esperable es que pueda explicarlo con precisión, no solo usarlo como una etiqueta para describir comportamientos que pueden variar mucho según el contexto. Al final, más allá de las posturas, lo importante sería poder explicar las ideas sin depender únicamente de frases hechas, porque cuando un concepto no se puede definir con claridad, es difícil saber exactamente qué se está defendiendo o criticando.